which is the 49ers and the Bills, after the 49ers have to go to Arizona. There's the schedule there.
That's what we need, Adam. A lot of moving parts. We need a graphic.
So do you got all those changes? Everything is upside down. It's hard to keep track of everything, but there it is right now where we're at this particular point in time. Ravens-Steelers Wednesday. Cowboys-Ravens Monday. Washington-Steelers Monday. Bills at 49ers in Arizona on Monday as well.
And Adam, let's just be clear about something, because I think a lot of people are confused why some games get moved and some games don't. The NFL sent out a memo before the season even started, correct? That talked about you're not going to move a game for strategic purposes. You're only going to for safety purposes.
Susie, it is all about identification, isolation, and then containment of the virus. And as long as the NFL feels like it has identified, isolated, and contained the virus, then at that point in time, it believes it can play the games. If that is not the case, if it can't identify and it can't isolate and it can't contain, as was the case in Baltimore, they're going to continue to postpone that game. That's why the Broncos-Saints game on Sunday was played, because the league believed that the virus was identified, isolated, and contained in Denver, whereas it wasn't in Baltimore, and that's why that game keeps shifting, and that's what will be the case as COVID cases spike across the country and across the NFL.
You know, I think that's a good point, because a lot of people have been talking about the Bronco game shouldn't have been played because they had no quarterbacks. It's not about competitive balance. It's about safety.
Yes.
The NFL, the NFLPA, they've been doing an outstanding job. And so I want everyone to understand that they're doing everything in the name of health and safety, which they should.
You know, when I look at the Baltimore Ravens-Pittsburgh game, as a player being in the locker room, I'm just kind of concerned about their mental state of what they've been through in the last week and a half. You think about, Boog, your first primetime game. Now it's moved from Monday to Tuesday, like Adam just alluded to. So I think just going forward with guys being safe and staying safe, I'm just more concerned about their mental state.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you think? There's going to be some competitive advantage, right? You're just going to have to deal.
But why can't we be athletic about it? Is the schedule, Adam, maybe is the schedule that sacrosanct that you can't expand it and make sure that the games get played with the full measure of all the guys that are... No one wants to watch the Baltimore Ravens play without Lamar Jackson. Nobody wants to watch the Denver Broncos play without a quarterback. I mean, I understand safety. I get all that. And that's their North Star, and that makes a lot of sense. And it says at the beginning of the season, if you're, this is the COVID year. And if you obey the protocols and you're healthy and safe, you're going to get the benefit and advantage for the teams that aren't. I get that. But why do we have to be so careful about the schedule and not be able to expand it to make sure these games are played with the full measure of especially the playoff teams that have playoff implications? It seems like the season could devolve from a competitive standpoint if people can look back and go, hey, look, the Ravens played without Lamar Jackson. It's not fair. It seems like they could just cancel a game. Just cancel
Steve, listen,
Week 18.
Listen, there are people who have said to me, I've heard coaches say that the integrity of the game is compromised when the Broncos have to trot out a practice squad wide receiver
100%.
to play quarterback. But the league would say, okay, as much as we're interested in that, what trumps that in this year, in this season, are the protocols that we have in place and the safety of the players. And they can't make allowances all the time.
Just cancel it and expand the season. Just play another week.
But again, the league has been on a path, and I think it's very evident. We are 12 weeks into the season. The NFL hasn't canceled a single game, Steve. Guess what?
Amazing.
Schools across the country canceled. Restaurants closed. Schedules shifted. Everything has changed. You know what's gone on? The NFL has gone on. The show goes on. And if you don't think that the league is determined to plow through this season and play all these games and cash in on all this TV revenue, then you're not paying attention.
Right, that's clear.
The TV revenue for me, play an extra week. They could stay on. They could stay on through March. People will watch.
They want this schedule played. They want to have the ultimate flexibility if they need it later on. They only want to do that as a last resort. And right now, they are not ready to go to that last resort at this point in time.
Well, the playoff implication game between the Ravens and the Steelers, in my mind, is a game without Lamar Jackson needs to be canceled. You cannot play that game without Lamar Jackson. And that, to me, that's
Steve, you can say that,
Steve, to the next week.
Steve, you can say the same thing about the New England Patriots when they didn't have Cam Newton. So, I mean, I think at some point we have to realize that we all, as players, we opted in knowing that
Yes.
things were going to be up in flux throughout 2020.
Adam, the 49ers can't play their next 2 home games at home. Tell us about that.
Well, essentially, Santa Clara County imposed restrictions that basically contact sports could not be played for the next few weeks. Now, the NFL has found no evidence that there's been transmission on the field so far. If there's data and science that emerges, okay, but so far to date, that's not been the case. Santa Clara County disagrees and basically said no contact practice, no games. And so the 49ers explored a number of options. They've been having the conversations since the spring, and now we'll have to go to Arizona. And think about this, okay? We're talking about all these scenarios with Steve. You want to talk about something unfair. The 49ers, at some point this week, will leave the Bay Area. They will head to Arizona. They will be there if these restrictions are not lifted for the next 5 weeks. And so all the coaches and all the players will be in Arizona during Christmas and New Year's, away from their family, away from their children, while they go through these games in which they might not even make the playoffs.
All right, so they get to try out State Farm Stadium in Glendale for Monday Night Football next week against the Bills. All right, more breaking news. Give us the latest on Will Fuller.
Moments ago, Will Fuller, the Texans wide receiver, announced on Instagram that he is being suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's PED policy, performance enhancing drugs policy. And so that ends Will Fuller's 2020 season. It's over. And the suspension extends into next season as well. He explained on Instagram that he got improper advice. But as we know, you are in charge of what you put in your own body.
Yep.
So you could spin it however you want, make whatever excuse you want. His career for this season, his season is over. He'll miss the first game of the 2021 season. His contract is up. You have to think that this is going to affect his free agent status this offseason. So this is a costly suspension for Will Fuller, who loses 6 paychecks, including the one for next year when he becomes a free agent.
Well, something tells me there's more breaking news to come.
Dalvin Cook is expected to play Sunday. The Broncos signed Kyle
You asked me to give it
Sherman,
right now.
Pat Sherman, their offensive coordinator.
Can't stop.
What else you want, Susie?
Adam will be here all night. We're just getting started here on Monday Night Countdown. Patrick Mahomes looked like the MVP against Tom Brady and the Bucs. Are there any teams that can slow the Kansas City Chiefs? And we crack open Boomer's Vault to see his top plays of Week 12. Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown had plenty of highlights, but were they good enough to be number 1? Plus, we go all access with Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. See what he and Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey have in common.
I know when I've done my greatest work. I am fully immersed and fully obsessed with the moment. So in the process.
Wilson and company in a heated battle for the top spot in the NFC